What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about this little guy, my Oura Ring 4. Now the ceramic is $4.99 and this titanium version is $3.99. The subscription is $5.99 a month, which would be about $71.88 a year. Is it worth it? How often do I use it as a dad on the go? If you have the version 3, is it worth the upgrade? Let's take a look. Here are 5 things you need to know before you buy. Site says about 5 to 8 days of battery life per charge. I've had the ring for almost a month now and it seems that's pretty accurate. I'll say the version 3 also had a very similar battery life per charge when I first bought it. But after wearing it for a little while, the battery life went down to about 2 days, which was pretty annoying. I did contact Oura and they said there was a problem with the ring and the battery, so they sent a new one, no questions asked. The same thing started to happen after a couple months and my warranty was up, so by that time I wasn't able to get a new ring, but they did offer me $100 off the version 4. I stacked that with my $200 credit I get from my Amex Platinum card and decided to get the ring with the 2-year warranty. I wonder if the problem with the battery was because I wore it when I worked out. The pressure from the weights possibly had something to do with the battery losing its juice faster. This new ring is made of titanium and you can notice that the sensors don't bulge out like the version 3. My previous Gen 3 wasn't uncomfortable, but you could feel those bumps in the center of the sensor. The Gen 4 does not have those sensor bumps and I've been noticing that the ring turns much more often than my version 3. I think the little bezels from the version 3 kind of kept it in place, and maybe I sized it wrong when I got the version 4 because the version 3 doesn't move around as much, but I can notice a lot of movement when I'm using my version 4. Without the sensor bumps, I feel that the ring moves more and I have to adjust more frequently, especially since I do have clammy hands. One thing that I noticed, and maybe it's just because I've been lucky, is that the ring on the outside does not scratch easily, or it hasn't for me yet. I remember when I got my replacement for the Gen 3 version and I picked up a pot and it immediately scratched the ring and I thought, wow, really? As you can see from my previous ring, they're pretty well scratched up. I'm not really sure if you can see that on camera very well, but yeah, it's scratched up on the edges right here and scratched up all over right here. So I don't know what it is about the third one. It was really easy to scratch. The fourth one being titanium, I'm assuming that's the reason why it doesn't scratch as much. I would say overall the design of the new one is improved, minus the problem of it turning. You could tell the difference in weight too. The version 3 is quite a bit heavier, so I do like that it's not as heavy, so you're not really noticing that you're wearing it all the time. So as you can see, there's these bumps on the version 3 that the version 4 does not have. So that is one thing that I do worry about, that because this one would pretty much stay where it's supposed to, because there's a little rivet right here that shows where you can see where the bottom is supposed to be. And then even on the version 4, you can see there's a little rivet right here. So this is supposed to be at the bottom, but because it moves around so much, I just worry that possibly it's not getting all the tracking information that it's supposed to get. So that is one thing that I am worried about, and I'm kind of anxious to see how that works when I've used it maybe a little bit longer. So I wear this ring all the time, even when I work out and I'm holding barbells that could potentially scratch the ring when I wear it, especially on the outside. But when I got my first Gen 3, I was worried about it getting scratched, so I bought this little sleeve that goes on the outer part of the ring. So you can see that's where you just put it on here. And then while you're working out, it's protecting the outside of the ring. So I actually do like that, and it actually does fit the version 4 also, so that's a plus. I didn't have to buy another one of these because these things were really expensive. I believe the company I bought this from was O-Sleeve. So okay, here's the thing. I look back at the receipt for just this silicone thing that I use. I paid $40 for the sleeve and $15 for shipping. But honestly, I'm kind of glad that I did, because I do work out 5 to 6 days a week and I'm always using barbells, and the knurling on the barbell, I know it would just wreck the ring. So I'm glad that I had this to keep it as nice as possible. So I would suggest finding some solution for keeping it from getting scratched. Maybe there's a cheaper company now that offers something similar, but when I bought it, mine's a few years ago, this is what they had, so this is what I got. I don't know how accurate all the information is, but I feel like it's doing a pretty good job of tracking everything. I think I do sometimes need to adjust the time with the sleeping, especially since I like to watch things in bed before I go to sleep. It has a function that tells you your stress level throughout the day, and it seems to be doing a good job tracking the times I'm busy at work or I'm having an intense workout. I recently had some heart irregularities, and I really relied on this ring to let me know how I was doing throughout the day. I had to go to the hospital for one night, and after that I was frequently checking my heart rate and seeing if I was stressed, and seeing those normal levels really gave me a little bit of assurance that I was okay. I check my sleep score almost every morning, and I think it's a pretty good spot on how I'm feeling for that day. It also lets me know my readiness for the day, which I think is somewhat subjective. I also use it to check my activities for the day and make sure I hit my daily goal. The one issue for all these tracking features are they are behind a monthly paywall. For me, it's worthwhile to get these indicators, so I do pay monthly for the subscription. So if you have the Gen 3, should you upgrade to the Gen 4? For me, it was a no-brainer. The Gen 3 was only lasting 2 days on a charge, and so they offered me the $100 credit that I mentioned earlier. I also get a yearly credit from Amex of $200 on Oura products, so I decided to grab it. I do suggest getting the warranty. I had to replace the Gen 3 twice, but I will say that it was hassle-free to get a new ring. Or I just needed to get access to my ring performance, and they saw that the battery was malfunctioning. I'm hoping they fix the issue they had with the Gen 3, but at least with the warranty, I'll have some peace of mind. Honestly, if the Gen 3 continued working, I probably wouldn't go for the new one without the credits I received. To me, I think you're probably gonna get the same performance out of these two. So if you have the Gen 3 already, I probably would just stick with it unless you have some kind of credit or you can get it on sale or something. You're not gonna see too much of an update, but I did see that they did update the app around the same time that the Gen 4 came out, and I was still using my Gen 3. So when I switched over to the Gen 4, I didn't really see too much of a difference. The app was different and it did look a lot nicer and cleaner, and I think it really showed the things that I wanted to see. So I guess you have to ask yourself, is the improvement with being more scratch resistant and the titanium? If the sensor bumps were uncomfortable for you, is it worth it for the price for a new one? I'm not sure it is, but if you got the money, sure, why not? Grab it. If not, I know that the Gen 3 was on sale, but it did sell out. So I would probably just get the Gen 3 if they ever come out with more, but if not, the Gen 4 is pretty good, and I really like that it's titanium and that it's now scratch resistant. So another thing that kind of disappointed me was they said that you'd be able to use 2 different rings. So the plan was to use the Gen 3 whenever I worked out, but the unfortunate part is it's only if you have 2 Gen 4s that you can rotate between them. You could get a second one if you want to use one just for working out and then the other one for kind of a daily driver, or if you want the different colors. So I'm not really sure why they didn't allow us to use the Gen 3 as a backup. Hopefully there is a future update or a firmware update so that you can use the Gen 3. Because I think that's a pretty cool feature that you can use, 2 different rings, especially if you have different color rings. So there you have it, my thoughts on the Gen 4 Oura Ring. I do personally use it in my own life, and I do like to see my sleep score. I like to see my stress level. I like to see, how much my activity is and all the things that they have on the app. So those things I do really appreciate. But do I really want to continue paying a monthly subscription? Not really, but I do. I know there are other rings that you don't have to pay a subscription, so Oura, come on, drop the subscriptions. You're not getting too much more on the app, and if you have the ring, that's pretty much what you're getting it for. You're getting it for all that information that is on the app. So take away the paywall and just let us use it, freely like other rings do. Besides that, it's a great ring. And I'm really excited that it's not really getting scratched right now. So that's a plus. All right, guys. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.